Welcome to Did She Really Say That? The podcast for women who are done following the traditional business rules that don't serve us. I am your host, Katrina Van Outhoosden, and in every episode, we break down what it really takes to scale your business as a woman. No burnout, no BS, no apologies. So if you're ready to discover how your natural female intelligence can become your biggest and most authentic advantage, grab your free guide at createherplanner.com/free. Now let's dive into today's episode. Well, welcome back to Did She Really Say That? I'm super excited for our guest today. Jeannie has been an amazing client to work with inside of Rewire, and also what she's done and doing with women around their female nervous system has been extraordinary. Just in watching your business growth over the last few months that we've been working together, I thought, why the heck not? Let's bring Jeannie on and let's talk about your journey. So, I want to go back a little bit. So when we first met on our first podcast that we did together, I interviewed you. You were like, I'm doing this in my life. So kind of explain where you were at just a few short months ago.
Just a few short months ago, I had a business. I was focusing on burnout, more parental burnout, but honestly, I didn't feel passionate about it yet. I didn't realize that. And actually, part of our conversation started me realizing, like, oh wait, I'm doing this to do it, but I don't know if I have the passion behind it. And I realized I didn't have the systems behind it to allow me to be more creative and allow myself to be more passionate. And so I felt like in a good place as far as I had started a business. I was there, I was doing it. I wasn't getting myself burnt out from doing it, but I was really lacking structure and passion and a clear focus, I would say.
So yeah, let's talk about I was doing it because I was like, I thought this is what I had to do. Like, what is that, right? Like, what had you step into this business that you created? And you're like, I'm doing this because I have to do it. Like, let's talk and open up that can real quick.
Yeah. So, I mean, the original reason I started a business was because I left my career from burnout and health issues. So I had that motivation and I knew I wanted to help people. But once I got into the business and I started getting into the world of client attraction and marketing and entrepreneurship, I kind of started just doing what everyone was saying.
Mm.
And none of it was landing for me. And what actually I realized now, looking at it full circle, is I lost my passion and my reason. And I wasn't clear on it. Instead, I was doing what I heard other people say. Now I can see it wasn't fitting with like my natural way of being, my natural way of flowing. And I wanted to create a business to create something different, not to do the same things that I did in my previous career. But I got pulled into that world, into the world of, I think you call it I remember bro marketing and client attraction. And I won't say that it was bad because I think I learned things from it, but also it wasn't, just missed so many parts that, particularly being a woman, that just I wasn't prepared for, didn't know what to do, and didn't feel confident about. So yeah, I listened to other people too much, I would say, for one thing, and lost my inner. Because jumping into something new where I wasn't as confident, it was easier for me to lose my inner voice and my inner knowing. And I think I started to realize, like, oh, I've lost this. I need to get it back. And what were some of the reasons? I didn't have a clear structure. I was just doing the next thing that was coming up, the next thing, the next strategy that someone else told me to do.
Yeah,
Um,
we're chasing the marketing. And I think
yeah.
inside of that, I feel like for us as women specifically too, and my experience is that oftentimes we start the business and then we're like, okay, well, I've got a market. And so the marketing then becomes our full business, but it's
Mhm.
not what we intended when we got
Yes,
started. So we're like,
exactly.
I'm going
Yeah.
down this rabbit hole of listening to everyone say, well, this is how you generate leads. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. This is what worked for me. And to be honest, Jeannie, I might have shared this with you before, is I have seen too many successful women not do what's being taught out there and having a way more fun in the process because all of that is just noise and busy work. And dear God, as women, we don't need more busy work.
Yes, so true. And you said the word fun, and I think that was the other piece is I had just lost fun in my whole like business. I forgot that it's meant to have fun.
Yeah.
And one of the
'Cause
turning points was when I met you and started talking to you about your planner and the work that you do. I was like, oh yeah, something's missing. And then the way the world works is all of a sudden I found this female nervous system certification program. And I started that. And then I was like, oh, okay, now it's starting to fit together. It's starting to, so it was like I just wasn't quite in alignment yet. And I wasn't stuck, but I was like, and
You're
then
pushing.
I was pushing,
Hmm.
pushing, and I wasn't in alignment. And then things started to pop up, and I was able to follow them and trust myself that what's a female nervous system certification? Like I'd already done nervous system certifications. Why did I need another one? But it totally changed how I work with my clients, and my own knowledge of myself as a woman and how just I am in the world.
Yeah, because female nervous system was not part of our original conversation at all. That wasn't something you were like, I want to work with parents. I want to work with those that are, in the career space trying to figure it out. I recognize in myself my level of burnout that I got and, what forced me out or what had me, move out of the corporate space. And then what happens, Jeannie, is that we leave the corporate space and then all the business marketing out there is just the beginning of how to build a corporation.
Yes,
It's the same
it's the
freaking
same.
cycle. Like it's
It
the
is the
same
same.
information, the same
Mhm.
linear thinking, and you're like,
Yes.
okay, I got out of this and I want to do something that changes this, but I'm in the same freaking thinking model because that's who's all been teaching it. And it's
Mhm.
it's it's struggle. It's a struggle to be in that space. And it's hard to get out of it because you don't know like who do you go to that's going to help you out of that to be able to design a business that actually fits around your lifestyle, not replaces your lifestyle, which I think is what we often experience. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes, I would totally agree. And I think even my realizations of not understanding some of my burnout was coming from not understanding my biology
Mm,
as a woman, and that if I wanted to continue to work with women and burnout, especially somatically with the body, like I needed to understand this and I needed to embody it myself. And so that journey, I will say there's some grief to it because sometimes I'm like, as a young woman in my career, if I would have known to follow my monthly cycle and like live differently, like, wow, what would have happened? Like, no one
yeah.
talked about that then. You just push through. You have to be successful. You do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I
Because
just,
you're
yeah,
always,
I didn't
yeah,
know.
we're always in competition because that's
Yes.
the structure that we've been given. It's push through, compete, prove, do better than. And the
Mhm.
proving part as women is one of the big things that you and I have talked about is like trying to prove that you can do this. That constant proving is exhausting.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that a little bit around the female nervous system, because I know that was something that even newly when you told me that, I was like, intuitively, I know that. And yet there hasn't been a lot of talk about it. Like everyone talks about a somatic practitioner, they can help regulate the nervous system. But when you started diving into the female nervous system, what were some of the differences you started to notice in going through that training for yourself and what you're bringing to your clients now?
Well, one of the huge things is that every session in my certification, we start with sharing where we're at in our monthly cycle or our perimenopause or menopause journey, so that as women and as a group, we can co-regulate and come together. I didn't have any idea that that would support co-regulation of our nervous systems in that way. I understood co-regulation, but like, how does sharing where you're at in your cycle help that? And then learning that through our cycles, our nervous system, it's not just our hormones, because our hormones and nervous system are together.
They're woven
They're
together. Yeah,
woven
they
together. There's no separation between them. But that literally in the different parts or phases of your cycle, your nervous system is shifty between more parasympathetic, relaxation, and more sympathetic, and it started to tune in with the work that you were doing. I was like, oh, now I'm starting to see this on a nervous system level, how the cycle works. And then for me, I guess I'm just newly postmenopausal, but going through that whole journey with nobody talking about what was happening, gaining an understanding of, yeah, this is also your nervous system. A lot of this is happening because the hormones that buffered a lot of our ability to push through and do more, they're gone. And so our nervous system, which is really system that's the main operating system of our bodies, is totally different.
yeah.
And yeah, I didn't realize that. And I had gone to like how many nervous system trainings and nobody talked about this. And so I was like, this is huge. And even things like learning that how important oxytocin is
Mm,
for women in the female nervous system and our lack of it. Because even though we need dopamine too, we're in such a dopamine hit
all the time.
world all the time that we're not getting the oxytocin that we need to really regulate our nervous systems. and create that parasympathetic relaxation, calm and alive state that we need, also so that we can connect with others, which we also need because the female nervous system is more relational. And to learn it from a physiological level, that it's more relational, not just to like, oh, women are more relational. It was like learning the physiology
Yeah.
and why it's so important for women to be connecting, especially when they're doing healing work or starting businesses or making transformation. It's so powerful. And honestly, like, I didn't realize how much I didn't like being a woman until, like, I mean,
Oh,
I
I'm
kind of
laughing
do it.
because I relate to that completely. It's like,
But like
yes.
I didn't like own, like I was just like, but going through the certification and really getting into it, and also learning like the archetypes, the
Mm,
female archetypes, and especially as you're going through midlife, that the wild woman comes up, the wise woman starts to come up. So we move out of that maiden mother area to this whole new way of
wise
being that we
woman.
can bring in.
Hmm.
But nobody talks about it that way. They don't talk about it as like this is a whole like spiritual, mental. It's like everything transition in our lives, and our nervous system is really central to it. Um,
Agree.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah, feeling good about being a woman and understanding why I struggled in the places that I did, and it wasn't my fault.
Yeah. And I agree because I think that's what inspired the Create Her method and the Rewire that you're going through, right? Is that I recognizing for myself when I had a lady that asked me, a female business muse asked me if I'd consulted my pussy, and I was so highly offended by that whole conversation, right? That's when I realized how much I disliked myself from the neck down. Like I lived in the body, like I saw it, I put clothes on it, whatever, but I really wasn't in the my body and understanding that she's talking to me all the time. I am getting so much information around moves to make and things to do. Like I woke up this week and it was like, go talk to everybody. Like, this is your time to go and just be in conversation. And it's like, I could feel that in my body that how I would come across would be
Mhm,
more authentic because I'm in that space of my luteal phase where I'm
mhm,
more connected. I do want to have those conversations. I do want to create that closeness. And that's part of my knowledge cycle. When we talk even about the female intelligence cycle that I kind of coined, it
mhm,
encompasses the female nervous system. It encompasses how we think, how we're building businesses, how we're raising our family, how we're journeying through our life. It's not a one moment in time. It is
mhm,
literally our entire livelihood. You talked about, even as young women, as children, as girls, we actually have the name. We call it girls. We call it a womanhood. We call it motherhood. We call it the wise woman. Like we've lost that language, but is not to define us by our sex, but to define that journey that we're going through.
yes, yeah. Hmm.
Right? So like we're a girl, we're a young woman, we're a mother, we're then wise, and then, matriarch, and that is our journey. And so oftentimes it's left out or not even considered because all we have to mirror is that other world around us, which is very patriarchal, but that's been the boy to the young man to the man to the
Yes, yeah.
the patriarch. Like his journey is fairly linear. Ours is very woven together in
Mhm.
a different way. And we need both. I'm not saying one is
Right.
better than the
Yes,
other. It's
exactly.
definitely a both, but the understanding of what we're bringing. I think we were talking to a gentleman earlier, and he's like, I'm a man, oh, an awakened man. Like I understand that I am the shield and the sword for the women. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of man I think that we're looking for, is we're looking for the man that's the shield and the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Not to her, but to defend that of which is sacred. And I truly believe that women, we are the sacredness of this, just as the men are the protectors of it. It's like we're brought to serve each other, right? We're in this together, and yet we've been pitted against each other in so many ways.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and the irony of it when you say that is something that I've found is I've actually I don't know how the word to say, like I've actually been drawn more to masculine as I've done healing around feminine and embraced my own feminine energy, because then there's not this divide anymore. There's like, oh well, yeah, we work together.
yep.
Like think of what we could do if we came together and worked together. But yeah, like in most systems and workplaces, that's not happening. It's so that's been a big part of my journey, healing journey, and being an entrepreneur is like I always used those parts of me, but they weren't recognized in my workplace. They were
Mm-hmm.
just emotional labor. I didn't get rewarded for them, even though I tried to in some of my reviews be like, but I really like sat and listened to someone and really cared about them. Can you give me money for
Yes. So do you realize
that?
how much I kept that person employed for you? Like, come
Exactly.
on.
All this
Yes.
attunement and like, but that's just at this point, that's not how it works. But it's so important. And I'm finally letting myself feel good about those aspects of myself instead of seeing them as like, oh, they got in the way of doing the real work.
Yeah.
Um,
Bringing it through. So let's talk
mhm,
about how you brought this through, like what we worked with through with Rewire for you. So you came on,
mhm,
you became a client of mine. We brought you in, we did an onboarding for you. And I remember our first part of our journey was to take you through a series of questions. What was
mhm,
that like for you to have somebody just sit there and ask you a series of questions around like what's your desires? What do you want in your
mhm.
life? Like what did that unlock for you?
Mhm. Um, it was like I enjoyed it and it was challenging at the same time. I mean, I'm usually the one asking questions, not the one answering. So, but it felt good because it gave me the structure and container that I needed to
Mm,
be able to lean into those answers and start to be real with them in a way that when I was working alone or in different group coaching places, I didn't get that. And so for you to be able to have the structure. And I think we've talked about this, like it's not my natural way necessarily to create a lot of structure, but also structure holds me and allows me to be more creative and to get vulnerable and go to those places. So I felt like that's what those questions did for me.
mm.
And the safety of having that structure and having you guide me through it. But yeah, it was a little intimidating coming to the call and knowing like, oh my gosh, Katrina's gonna be asking me all these questions today, and I have to like dig deep and but it also was like it felt really good because it organically started to bring out my passion again and reconnect me with what I had never lost, but it got pushed aside when I was trying to do what everybody else was doing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
following the all the noise that's out there and saying this is the
Mhm.
best way to build your business. And those first questions is just it's the way for us to connect. There's
Mhm.
nothing in this space is just as like let's just get to know each other because if I'm helping you build a business and supporting you as a woman in business, I want to know what lights you up because that's what we want to lean into because that's what will
Mhm.
have you play the long game. I think a lot of the tactics out there tend to focus on what can you do in the next 90 days and the next short days, but our journey is about letting you breathe and exhale through this process,
Yes.
right? Like, here's the structure of a business. Let's look at each piece of it and then let's have you not try to fix it, but just how do you want to show up inside of this? How do you want your
Mhm.
audience to engage with you? I think one
Mhm.
of my favorite things in working with you is going over like, what's your brand voice, right? Not who is Jeannie, right? Because I think we get that confused because we put our identity into our business. And so we don't see as our business has also got its own voice, its own system, and it works within itself. So I thought it was fun kind of working with you. Like, what's your brand voice? And that was such a fun place to work with you. And getting like what was your truths? What was, how did you want to be seen in this space? What was
Mhm.
that like for you? Would you have anything in remembrance around that particular
Yeah.
call?
I do because I know it's something that I've struggled with because I want to be authentic and I want to be who I really am in my business. But also, like you said, like it's not my full identity, my
Mm-hmm.
brand voice. And so learning those differences and learning how I can still be authentic in that space, feel good about it, but realizing that this is a brand voice that I'm creating and that then I can, as I grow, I can expand because I have a brand voice and I can bring other people in and they will know what they're coming into. But yeah, it was a little bit uncomfortable, like again. But the thing is, like you said, I trusted, like I didn't start working with you until I trusted you. So I had met you a couple times
Yep.
and before we started working together. And so I was able to be uncomfortable in the space and go through the process. And yeah, and I think the brand voice too, I'm still like evolving it a little bit, working on the like, it's okay if people don't like it. Like, that's okay. Not everybody's gonna like your brand voice. And that's actually, what you want. You want the people who do. And I'm in that journey right now. Hmm.
Yeah, and during this journey, as we've been working together, you've still been bringing in clients. You're
Hmm.
still learning, and I think one of the fun things we've had with you is putting the system together. I remember
Yes.
as we were going through, so we went through the first beginning structure, like what is your business, what is your audience, who's on your team, what is that, and then we got to the conversation around money. My
Oh gosh.
favorite. Yeah, see, Jeannie said it right there, the best. She's like, oh yeah. It's confrontational, right? So because we were asking, and one of my big questions is always with women is like, what are you receiving for your services? And we specifically phrase that way for all of our listeners here on this podcast that are listening. I don't ask how much you charge. I always ask, what are you receiving for your services? Right? Because that is a very feminine word. And I know that when we've talked, Jeannie, I've used very specific language to make sure we
Mhm.
touch the nervous system,
Yeah.
that we get it resounding in the body. But then we started looking at like, okay, what's the structure of your business? What's holding you? And do you need everything that everyone's told you you needed? Like, Jeannie's
No, I did
shaking her
not.
head. That's
I
like
did
what she's
not.
like, no. So what was it like to kind of strip that away? And then I want to talk into a little bit about how Heidi came in here, what she worked with you on
Mhm.
also.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at first it was a little hard to strip it away because it's again the kind of the new shiny thing. Like people are like, well, this one new tool will make all the
Change your
difference,
life.
change your life. And what I really started, what I connected to was when you talked about your client's journey and how are you bringing them through and realizing the structure is going to make their experience better with me. And that was like, maybe that's the relational piece in me where I was like, oh, the structure is going to make the whole experience and the relationship actually better for the client. And when I changed that perspective, eventually it also became about me because now I got everything into one system and it's way easier and I feel supported. But yeah, at first I was like, oh, it's about the client. This makes sense. And then it became about me and making it easier for me. And with the idea that, yeah, I can then scale and grow, where I think I just like, I couldn't even imagine scaling and growing because I didn't have a system
Mm,
to hold that.
yeah.
Um,
Because the
and
customer's experience of you is the one thing that will get people coming back or wanting to stay with. And oftentimes, as a business owner, we're so focused on building our business, like our systems, that the customer experience, and I think that's my Disney background coming in, right? Like we are so customer focused, and where's the path of least resistance for them?
Mhm.
How many hoops do they have to jump through before they get, that they can pay for something? Or, they went from having to pull your credit card to your credit card's on your wrist and you just tap a little machine. Like, how many ways can we remove the resistance out of that? And I think oftentimes we don't look at that as a business owner because we're building the systems, we're building the courses, we're trying to get everything done. But I do remember that conversation. It's like, okay, so how are they getting into you? Like, okay,
Yeah.
they gave you their card, now what? Okay, now what? And realizing where you have barriers and where you that's like, if I just remove this and did this,
Mhm.
it makes my life easier and it makes theirs easier. I'm not trying to do so much manual work. I'm letting the system support me and yet still putting my best self forward, my most creative self forward.
Yes, yeah. And that whole idea of structure allows us to be more creative and more passionate about what we're doing, I think is something that has been really helpful for me is to having you hold some of the space and creating some of the structure so I don't have to do it all myself
Yeah.
because that wasn't working. Because literally, like in a couple months, like redid like everything and created a whole system that I hadn't completed in a year. I had started and stopped and done like, but then I was like, oh, maybe I'll try this tool. Maybe I'll try this tool. And instead working with you, it was like, okay, well, number one, I'm going to meet with Katrina next week, and she's going to be like asking me what I did. So that was lovely to have that accountability, the gentle
Yes.
accountability. But it was the structure, and it energized me to do some of
Mm.
the systems things that I was more. I would have spurts of energy, but like again, kind of dopamine hit stuff. But I wasn't sticking with it and really creating something from that viewpoint. So that's been really helpful is having you hold some of the structure while I'm creating my structure, if that makes sense,
Yes.
because it's hard to do it yourself.
Yeah. And I know we even talked about it, like we've talked about your moon cycle with you specifically
Mhm.
because as you've been transitioning from a menopause to postmenopausal, like
Mhm.
the shift of that, it's like you still recognize you have an energy cycle. You
Mhm.
still recognize you're gonna have ups and downs. Like it shifts in your body, but you're still experiencing that cyclical nature that is innate to
Mhm.
us. And so I remember like on our last one of our calls, I was like, "Oh, well, you're heading into new moon energy. Like that's this
Mhm.
week, right? At the and so this is your time to reflect, get some stuff done. Like this is going to be the best use of tasks for what you're doing right now in your business.
Mhm.
This, if you're going to go dive in and just try to do a whole new reconstruct of your webinar, do that in your full moon around
Yes.
energy because it's going to feel different and you're going to have a different energy and mindset available to you. And I know you've mentioned how that's even helped you kind of again be supported and that you're not going crazy with what you're doing. It's like that makes sense. This is where I'm pushing, this is where I'm flowing.
Yes. Yeah, that's made a big difference in thinking in like monthly cycles versus day to day, because I think especially as women, if we're looking at what we do day to day, like it's not consistent. So if we're judging ourselves on I didn't do as much today as I did this other day, like it doesn't really make sense. But
Yeah.
when we pull back and look at like, oh, across the whole month and the ebbs and flows of the way, yeah, like even though again I don't have a monthly cycle anymore, I still am in tune. And it helped me also become more in tune with nature and seasons and working even from a seasonal standpoint. I think like in the winter, realizing that, yeah, I kind of go inward. And that's not the best time to like launch a new program or do something like that. Even if they're telling you it's the new year, do all these new things. I was like, spring is way better for me. So starting to, yeah, learn both monthly cycles and then the seasons of the year too, and flowing with them. And that work is I'm still learning on that journey, but then I'm bringing that to my clients because I work with women who are in survival mode, burnout. And so as they start to come out of that, how do they want to live so that they don't go back there? Because
Mm.
sometimes I hear people saying, I've been burnt out like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, well, did you change anything? Like, I'm like, oh, I feel so
Yeah,
bad.
well, we don't know how to. Like,
Right,
I've experienced
exactly.
burned out in the corporate space in the kitchen. I burnt out from coaching. I've burnt
Mhm.
out from multiple different things, and there was no different way of doing something.
Mhm.
There
Yep.
still wasn't another lens to pursue that said, okay, if you're going to consistently go through this, might be something that has to shift for a woman,
Mhm.
and it's not getting another
Mhm.
tool or another system, another
Yep.
tactic. It's really looking inward first and getting really in tune with that female intelligence, that nervous system, and saying, oh.
Mhm. Yep.
That's what I'm doing, and it's normal. And as we hear more women, like you talk about, get on calls with each other and talk about where they're at, that begins to shift something
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And I think like with it just flows so much with the work that I do because usually when the women are coming to me, they're either in that survival mode, fight or flight, just like, or they're like completely shut down and freeze or
Hmm.
maybe high functioning freeze. And so yeah, they're connecting with their bodies, they're learning all this. And then it's like, now I also have this way to be like, now keep going with this. Like we did all this healing. Now there's a new way to be, so you don't have to go back to the
Yeah,
old way. Which,
yeah,
yeah, like previously that wasn't available. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, it's been really powerful for me.
You're
Mhm.
definitely lit up more so, I think, now and just understanding who you are. And I think that's the thing that's the confidence that's soaring through you now.
Mhm.
The waking up, this whole sense of like, yeah, I'm a badass at this. Like, I'm owning this completely.
Mhm.
So let's dive into the financial side. So part of the Rewire program also has you working with Heidi. So she's our CFO. And so we said, okay, first you got to start listing like what all your expenses are for your business. And then you started working with Heidi. What was it like to work with Heidi?
Well, I loved working with Heidi. Again, it was challenging because what she was asking me to do, it seemed small, but it was like coming up with a spreadsheet with all of your monthly expenses and operating expenses, which seem like small things, but it can be a lot. But like having her, again, guiding me and creating structure and feeling supported in it and feeling her confidence in it. That I was like, oh, well, she seems confident in it, so I can be too. It was very helpful, and it's nothing that I experienced before
Mm,
in the past first year of my business of having that financial side, and especially based on like it wasn't pushing, it was still respectful and with flow and honored who I was, but also it did push me to like address some stuff that I wasn't addressing because for lots of reasons, financial stuff was not my where I put my attention. But what I realized was I needed Heidi to help me create again that structure of how money comes in. Because otherwise I was like, well, how am I going to receive money if I don't know where it's going to go? Like what's going to happen to it once I receive it? And so
Mm-hmm.
I definitely felt like that helped me remove some of that resistance to receiving because now I know where it goes. It has percentages, it goes into different buckets, and it feels really good.
Yeah, because now you have a bucket that says, this is how I'm getting paid, right? This is what
Mhm.
now you're seeing what it is to get a paycheck from your business. You
Mhm.
also understand where the tax money is, so it's not a surprise at the end of the year, right? And as that revenue continues to grow for your business, one of the things that we've been really diligent around in the background is making sure we have other women that can help you as you cross over that 600 multiple six-figure threshold. You're in another tax strategy area that requires another level of support
Mhm.
so that you don't break as a woman, right?
Yeah.
And that we can continue because I know you're wanting to do great things, Jeannie, in the world. You want to contribute, you want to do, scholarships, you want ways for this to get into more women's hands and to make that alive in the world is being able to receive that money, see where it's going, seeing how it's moved because this isn't information that we've had access to. It's only been since I think 1974, give or take. I might be off by a year, so do your research on that one. That women were able to own their own bank account in their own name without having a husband or male signature on it, right?
Mhm.
So I think as women, we've been given access to this whole world of building a business, but that financial conversation still feels a little like, well, okay, because we've been taught how to budget a household. We've
Yep.
been taught how to stretch a dollar, right, to the
Mhm.
most. We've been taught all of that. But now, as a businesswoman, you have access to a whole nother world of financial education that previously you never saw before because not that it wasn't there, it was just a blind spot for you. And I think
Mhm.
what I love about what Heidi does with you and all of our clients is that she's like, here, let me just make this crystal clear.
Yes. It's very clear with Heidi. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just make
Beautiful.
this really clear. Like, let me pull off all the shades and open the windows and say,
Mhm.
okay, this is the way money is. And she's just done so much between her financial background in accounting and real estate and
Mhm.
business. She does, and I mean, she's seen a lot. And so I think she brings that in for you. But I
Mhm.
love how
Oh
you
yeah.
said, you get to see your buckets. You get to see, this is how money moves in, this is how money goes out, and then how it comes back in. Like that's the cycle. Like that, you're receiving and giving money to the world.
Yes, yeah, and that's been helpful. And it helps me see like should my rates be more realistically? Because I think when you see it like in your percentages and see what you want to do in the world, like if I do want to be able to offer scholarships, I'll probably need to charge more for my other clients. So again, it's that, yeah, like giving and receiving, starting to see that and allow that to flow and just feel good about it is powerful. And yeah, and Heidi, the way she works with you, she's very supportive and patient. And yeah, like she was helping me set up something where I was like, well, I probably could have done that myself. But like having her help me was just, I think that's again one of my things that I'm for myself, my journey is as a woman, I don't have to do it all alone,
Mm.
and I've had that like hyper independence. And so yeah, could have I done it alone, but it was way easier and more fun doing it with Heidi. And I got like, and she just throws in little tips too. She'll just all of a sudden throw in like a little tip about something financial. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Like, because that's a world like I haven't had access to.
Yeah. And I haven't either. I brought her in as my business partner and best friend. I was like, gee, Lord, like your brain is a numbers like haven over here. Like,
Hmm.
start spewing that stuff out because that's good stuff in there.
It
So
is.
yeah. So I love that. So through the work of Rewire, like, would you recommend this to other women that are in this same place as you that want to grow their business but feel like they're chaotically all over the place?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think everyone, their journey will know when the time is right, but definitely supportive. It honors who you are. It provides the container in a way that is allows you to be vulnerable, allows you to get to know yourself again if you've if you've like lost a little bit about that in your journey.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that going back even to the female nervous system, it's the relational piece too. It just having the relationship with you and Heidi and feeling like you create a community too. Like it's not just the one-on-one sessions, like you have a community that now I feel like I'm part of and is very empowering, especially again because yeah, I came from higher education. I came from helping professions. So this is a new world for me. And to have the two of you as a support network beyond the individual is very powerful. Yes, I would definitely recommend it without reservation. I already like working with my own clients, like as they're starting to figure out what they want to do as they go on their journey. And when we were talking about starting a business, I was like, oh, I have this amazing business coach. And so I've already kind of been like planting some seeds with some people who may in the future working with you.
And I appreciate that. And I really love what you're doing with women and the nervous system. So let's talk about your program real quick, as I know we're wrapping up this episode. So I love this. I think this is where our synergy really aligns too, is that it's the women that you're really supporting because we are just starting to research ourselves. You know, the female vagina was first mapped in 2007
Hmm.
officially. Like it's not that long ago, right? And so I feel like as women we're discovering ourselves, as you said, for the very first time. We're understanding how we're thinking, what we're feeling, what our bodies are doing, and how just communicative that is.
Hmm.
And how much of that is needed in the world right now. Is to work with you is how long do they get to work with you? What does that program look like? So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about it as if I'm coaching you. So, Jeannie, so somebody signs up with you or they find you through your webinar, what's their next step?
Yeah, so the next step, my program is the one-on-one program's called Reignite. And so the first step is they would do a connection call with me. And I do that because number one, this is very relationship based, and I want to be able to connect first and also make sure that it works for both of us because I think that's one of the things that I feel very strongly about is this a fit for both of us and creating that space and then getting the information they need about the program so they know the next steps and know what to do. So it starts with a connection call. And then after the connection call, we'll go through the logistics of the program agreement and intake forms, and then they'll be able to start their first session with me. Usually it takes about a week to kind of get that stuff going. And then it's a 4-month journey with approximately 3 sessions a month. So I did leave room, and I got this from Katrina because it totally makes sense not to do every week because we need space depending on, it could be because of monthly cycling, it could just be when women are experiencing burnout, stuff comes up.
Life
Having that
happens. I'm on
life happen on
vacation.
vacation. Yeah, it's made such a difference to give that space and have women. And so they go through a path or a journey, and we start out in safety because one of the things that particularly working with the female nervous system is really we can't heal or make changes or transform until we feel safe. And so we start with safety and work with reconnecting with the body and actually gaining literacy in our female nervous systems because most of us don't know. I mean, there's still stuff that I'm like, what? Why don't I know this? That I'm learning every day. And so that's really the first phase. And in 4 months, for some women, that's where they'll do most of their work.
Mm,
But then they'll also start going into the second phase, which is reclamation. And that's where you start to shed the old patterns, all the
mm.
old stuff starts to come off. What maybe is more like people experience as healing work. And that stuff starts to come up. And the cool thing, and I just had a client say this to me yesterday, their true selves start to come out, maybe a little slowly at first, but I had a client say, like, I feel like more like my true self now. And then expansion is the third, and that's where we start to take what we do out into the world. So even having like, how will I live my life now? How will I change things? How does this help me become a different type of leader and go out
Mm.
into the world? Because one of the things that I really believe strongly is that postmenopausal women are the leaders that we need to change the world. And
I
so
hear that. No, I hear that because you're getting into
mhm.
wisdom, right? Like you're going
Wisdom, yeah.
through,
Hmm.
you're moving from motherhood into wisdom, and there's just a different essence that we bring with that. And knowing what we're learning now, and just even watching the younger generation, like I met a young lady, she's like, "Yeah, I'll teach you how to eat within your cycle, like how to." She's doing
Hmm.
now prepared foods for women so that they can order different foods that they need
Oh, yeah.
based on their cycle,
Mhm.
which is true. I mean, but I also look at that too, coming as a chef is that food used to be seasonal. We couldn't get our hands on everything at every time. And
Mhm.
so when we ate in a more seasonal pattern and
Mhm.
we didn't always have everything, fruits and vegetables available to us, we had a very diverse eating habits and what was accessible. And I think that also contributes to the overall health of being a woman.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, so true.
But now that everything's in a freezer or can get shipped from anywhere around the world,
Yes.
not sure it's always a good thing. I know the convenience factor, but sometimes I think convenience is the one thing that's actually doing us more harm than good, to be honest. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, no, so true. And I think And what happens in the leadership pipeline that we know is that that's when women start coming out of the pipeline is after midlife. And
Yeah, they
so
leave. They
they
completely leave
leave.
the industry.
Hmm.
I've heard that from legal lawyers have said that to me
Hmm.
because we've had women that have come through that have been powerhouses and then are gone.
Hmm.
And we've had, people, women in corporate that get to a certain level and then they're gone. And so
Hmm.
I think that is us not recognizing our own pattern. We're not playing the long game. We're playing the short term, how do I get
Yes.
promoted, which is
Hmm.
very linear. And I
Hmm.
think as women, as we come in, we start looking at the cycle. It's like, okay, what season do I want now? What does I want this to look like from now? And having that access to hear other women talk about that and make it
Hmm.
okay and getting those women into those leadership positions and saying that as you talk to women, this is okay. Like we need both, right?
Right, we do. And like, I mean, if in retrospect, looking at my journey, like, yeah, when I was new in my career in my 20s and I was all like, going fast and doing anything, like, it was okay. But when I became a mom, I didn't slow down at all. I just added more stuff on. I didn't see that as a season of like, well, maybe I need to adjust things. And I moved up in leadership roles. So I just kept adding more and more on, which I think a lot of women do, no matter what that
Mm,
is for them. It's different for everyone what they're adding on. So you get to midlife, and all of a sudden you're like in the peak of your career, you're caregiving for multiple people probably, and then you lost yourself, and then you start going through perimenopause, and we don't treat it as the initiation that it really is to the next phase of our lives, and we're not supported.
yeah.
And no one tells us there's another side, that there's an inner spring that will happen after you move through it. But yeah, that supporting each other through it and realizing there's ebbs and flows and there's
Mm,
seasons and you don't have to be completely all in all the time.
yeah. I think rest is super important for women. And I
Hmm.
think that's the one thing we often talk about is, and even for us, right? Take the week off, take
Yes.
2 days off. And I hear so many women say, but I'm using this as my hustle season. I got to push through. You are hurting yourself more than helping yourself in that journey. You're not actually taking the time to reset
Yeah.
mentally,
Hmm.
system, body,
Hmm.
like so much that goes on. And if you never take the time to rest because you're afraid that the men are going to outperform you, I promise you, ladies that are listening, the men will not outperform a woman. The more you rest, the better you get.
Yes. Hmm.
Have you experienced that for yourself, Jeannie? When I say, "Oh, you're coming
Hmm.
to cycles," like rest, go play,
Hmm.
go outside, go do something. Don't
Yes.
think about anything. Like take the
Hmm.
day.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to end up in years of burnout and
Yes.
recovery.
Definitely. And so much of that is being okay, honoring what our bodies are telling us, because our bodies are telling us that, right? But we're so used to not listening to them or overriding them that it's like you say that and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then I'm like, wait, maybe my body's telling me that too. And I just haven't been listening to my body. And yeah, and I found with the women that I've worked with, burnout, it's not about like it's always trying to get them to do less versus
Mm,
getting them to do more. It's the uncomfortableness of learning how to do recovery, learning how to do less. And that is, if you've been doing that for decades,
it's a
it's
lot.
challenging, but I mean, I'm watching it happen, but yeah, it's a lot. And so, yeah, the earlier that we start seeing this as season, I think would help everybody. And yeah, knowing that like there is another side to this midlife journey that, because like some of the women I'm working with right now are in their late 50s and they're going to go start new things. Like
Hmm.
they're like ready for a whole nother part of their journey is coming up. And if they would have been supported earlier, it might have happened faster, but that's what their
Yeah,
journey is, and that's okay. But I also wonder like more support early, like you said, more of us talking about it will make the journey easier and more powerful for everybody else.
I agree. I think as right now is for you and I, and as we continue our work, because it's a synergy, right? There's definitely a synergy between what we're doing. I think our younger generation, or our hope for both of us, I think we look back or look forward and we're like, I hope the women that come in after us get access or have a sense of like this just now then becomes part of their day-to-day life instead of having to be taught this. It's what
Mhm.
they grow up innately knowing about themselves and their body. And I think that's for me, ultimately, the shifts that I want to see. I want women to have access to a female business model that honors who they are. I want them to have access to a nervous system that they understand how it works best for them. I want them to have access to female care that honors our entire journey from the moment we're born to the moment we pass, right? And
Mhm.
I think that that is my wish in the world. And my journey and my legacy that I want to live behind is that we as women are collectively coming together. We each hold a piece of this beautiful puzzle. And I think Mother Nature is, and the universe is like, women, hello. Like I feel like
Yes.
there's a knock going on in the
Yes.
world going, wake up. I need you,
Mhm.
like I need you now more than
Yes.
ever.
Hmm.
And I need you to understand what I put you on this planet for and who you are as the yin to the yang that's there. And it's like a calling. I feel like so many women are hearing right now, and they're like, this is this is what we're out here talking about. And when soon, in a couple of decades, a couple of generations, it won't be anytime soon. But generationally down the line, my hope and dream is that what we're doing just becomes,
Mhm.
the essence of, hey, there's a school for female business, there's a school for male business, but it's they teach each other the male business model, they teach the female business model, and inside of that they start to understand how we work symbiotically in the world.
Yes, yeah, that yeah is amazing, and I'm right there with you, and that's part of what gives me excitement. And for us to be like, I never saw anybody really doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it, and so my hope is that yeah, I'll continue to support midlife women, but also continue to be a mentor and guide for young, because what they do at the beginning of their journey is going to affect the later parts of their journey big
Hell
time.
yes.
It doesn't like it comes with you. What you carry it with you. It doesn't just go away. So the more, yeah, you're learning how to work with your biology, stay in tune with your body, because once we stay in tune with our body, we connect with nature more too. Like
Yeah.
you just start to feel all that. So yeah, that's my hope, and to be like, yeah, I'm 51 and I feel like this is like I'm excited to for this next stage of my life. Wasn't easy to get here. I won't lie about that.
Like, guess who you get to be now? I mean, you get to be somebody that comes from a background of amazing experience and life stories, and now you're getting an opportunity to really work with women and have see that trajectory and that change. So, for somebody that wants to work with you, what's the best way to reach out or to connect with you, or to schedule that call with you?
Yeah, if they go to my website, which is shinebrighterllc.com, right on the front of my website, I have connection calls, so they can schedule a connection call there. I also have a freebie, a guide for midlife women around burnout and survival mode. So you can also grab that freebie, and you'll get emails from me, so you can connect with me that way too. I'm also on LinkedIn a lot too. So if you look up Jeannie Stumne on LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn too, and I would love to connect on LinkedIn. And there's also on my profile, you can find my connection call link on there too.
Look at you. This is a fabulous conversation. You're super crystal clear on how they can find you and connect with you. I love it. For all of our audience that's listening, those will be in the notes for how to connect with Jeannie. And I do recommend, you reach out if there's something she said. And like every episode, if there's something that Jeannie or anyone has ever said and you're hearing this and you can think of another woman, that's the power of this, right? Share this podcast episode with them, invite them to listen in, invite them to connect, because we know that as we help more women and we have women helping women, that's the collective. That is where things begin to shift. That's where we feel at our greatest, and we are meant to be in a human relationship with individuals. I love AI. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's another
Um,
conversation,
a
yes.
whole nother conversation, but honestly, that human connection, that safe space that both Jeannie and I provide for our clients, is that's what I wanted you here today on this episode. So, Jeannie, thank you so much for being a guest, for jumping on, and I'm super excited to see where you continue to take your business. And with that, everybody, thank you for joining in. We'll hear and listen to you on the next episode.
Thank you.
If today's conversation hit home, don't just listen, take the next step. Download the free Create Her Authentically guide at createherplanner.com/free and discover how to build your business in alignment with your natural rhythm. And if you love this episode, please leave a review. It helps more women find the show. I'll see you in the next episode.